And so this other offer was also on the table at Walmart, and had some other, it's always about who is talking in your ear a little bit. So you got to be mindful of who you let talk.
Matt Woolley Podcast.
All right, so today we're with Jenn Hann.
Hi. It's great to be here.
Yes, thank you for being here, Jenn.
Thanks for asking me.
So, the honor and privilege is mine.
Oh, well.
Okay, so who is Jenn Hann? So this is what I have. This is what we do. We've done forever. So Jenn Hann is a wife and a mother. Jenn Hann's professionally been a senior project manager at Dayspring. Jenn Hann has been a Walmart buyer. Jenn Hann has been Funko sales director for Walmart, Funko senior director of sales, Funko vice president of business development, and Funko vice president of category merchandising. There's a lot going on there. Did I miss anything?
No. There were 10 years at Hallmark Dayspring, so lots of roles, lots of titles.
Well, what'd you do there?
That is where you got the like senior product manager. That was kind of the end of a 10-year career journey. So that's where I started out of college.
Okay.
And I was actually working there while I was at John Brown. And I had started working on a project that was like a Walmart project. It was all went through a temp agency. And they brought me in to just like mock up greeting cards, like put glue down and sprinkle glitter on it. And we were making samples for the Walmart pitch. And
That's awesome.
And I remember it was like a 3-week sign on, it was like just temporary work. And after 3 weeks, like the project wasn't over. So every Friday I would come in and be like, hey, do you want me to come back Monday? Yeah, come back Monday. And like eventually I just stopped asking if they wanted me to come back. And then
turned into 10 years?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it went from 3 weeks to 10 years.
It wasn't until year 2 that I decided to quit asking about the Monday morning.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I want to get off into that more, but let's go back a little bit. Where's Jenn Hann from? Let's start. Yeah.
Okay, I grew up in rural Oklahoma.
What part of rural Oklahoma?
So south of Norman.
Okay.
So central.
Okay.
Small town, Washington, which I used to say Washington, and then I got picked on.
Sometimes you just have
after I got out of
Did
Washington.
you wash your clothes in Washington?
That is what happened. I go to college, and people are like, "What did you say?" And so I had to like change.
You just have to own it. I learned to just own it because I knew I was never going to get rid of it. Everybody sounds like says I sound like Matthew McConaughey when I talk. And my direct response is, and people say I look like it too, which is a complete lie.
But own it, claim it, own it.
All right, so you started in Washington, Oklahoma.
Yeah, small town, had 33 kids in my class.
Oh, sweet. Look, I had a graduating class of 41.
Yeah.
So we're in the same page.
Yeah, you get it. You totally get it.
I get it.
So ended up not graduating with them. I transferred into Norman to a larger school to take some class credits and do some stuff. But and then right before graduation, my whole family decided they wanted to move to Northwest Arkansas because
was this around
99.
Okay.
Right before 2000. And it was because
you don't say.
Walmart had said, it's like 98, 99, I don't know. I graduated in 2000, so it was earlier than that. But it was like Walmart had said, hey, if you are a supplier, we really want you to have an office here.
Yeah.
And my family's all in commercial real estate.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so it was like,
that makes sense why your brother.
We made the journey to the Mecca of new construction.
Awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And that's how Grady ended up in it.
Yeah. That just makes sense.
My uncle, my mom, my dad.
It's in the blood.
That's exactly right.
Why didn't it take with Jenn?
It just wasn't my jam. I think I get the relational aspect of it, and I can see that in the roles that I've had.
Right.
I think that the relational, the communication, those are all there. There is an element of that I was not drawn to, of like a bit of master of your own universe, like you sink or swim, right? I kind of enjoy working for the man because I know I'm going to get a paycheck in my bank account as long as they don't let me go. And I mean, I've watched my, obviously awesome. It takes good stewardship.
Right.
I get a big check and then I don't get a check for a long time or, and so I didn't love that world of it.
Gotcha. Yeah. But will you say your family is naturally, people folk?
Oh my gosh, yes. It's the Fox side. So my grandma's side. I mean, social butterflies.
That's great.
Those 4 sisters, and that's in our blood and definitely trickled down.
Did you grow up with a lot of family around you? Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
it's wonderful. A lot of people, don't have that blessing, but
I'm so grateful. Like we grew up, my house and my grandma and grandpa's house were a walking trail that we had walked into the road, similar to a cow trail in a pasture. We had a trail between our houses, and then
awesome.
I feel fortunate because we're just 8 to 10 minutes from my parents, and so my kids get that. But that's
great.
How it's been.
I was in the same circumstance when I was younger, and it sounds more prestigious than it is. Trust me. But there was the road that I lived on was Woolley Road, and it's because so many of the Woolleys lived down it. What it was the patriarch.
The Woolley clan.
Yeah, that's what they actually call us. But the patriarch of the family owned a ton of acreage.
Okay.
And then had a bunch of kids, or as I like to call them, farmhands. And
just grow your own health.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And then whenever they got older, that land got divided up between them, and they all were just there. So literally, the majority of my family was I could go to any aunt and uncle on my dad's side, and then it was a little, almost identical thing with my mom's side, which was 5 minutes away. I could do the same thing. Everybody was pretty much
right there.
Yeah, and it's such a blessing. You don't realize it until you move to the big city.
And you don't have it. Yeah, I can't. I was talking to somebody at work, and there's no family around, and I'm like, I just don't know how you do it.
No.
And I don't want to know.
No,
frankly.
No, thanks. Yeah. I don't like them islands. All right, so you moved.
That's where it came from.
That's where it came from.
Yeah.
So you were what grade when you came here?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we don't have to go into that, but I was a junior in high school, about to start my senior year.
Was that culture shock though, to come from there to here?
It was brutal in two ways. One, I was dating my future husband, who's now my ex-husband, but we had been dating, and that all my friends were there, and to come. And it wasn't like Rogers or Bentonville, it was Siloam Springs. So somewhat comparable from size. But the difference was when communities are small and those kids have grown up together for 12 years.
Oh, yeah.
And I show up as a senior.
Oh, yeah.
I barely even went to school. I took some classes at the U of A in the afternoon, and I think I needed 2 class credits to graduate. And I did it for 1 semester, and then I begged, borrowed, and stole my way back to Oklahoma so I could graduate with my class. And I lived with some really great friends of our family
that's awesome.
Had actually bought the house. And so anyway, it was, you look back on it, you're like, I would never let my daughter do that. I would, I also will. If she comes and says she wants to get married at 18, I'm going to ship her off to Europe. So we can record that she will be on the next plane.
It's documented down. When the time comes to say, look, I said this back in 2024.
It's on record. Yeah. So went back, ended up graduating with my class. That was in May. Got married in November, which was my first year of college.
So you went to college?
I have 7 universities on my transcript.
Oh, wow.
To get my nice little English degree.
That's all right. I know many people that do.
It was correspondence. I moved twice. So I moved from Oklahoma to Tennessee to Arkansas. But I did it in 4.5 years.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's crazy. Man,
lost a lot of credits.
You were moving. But the exposure received, you can't put a price on that.
Seriously.
Okay, so Well, and where did you say you ended up graduating from, though?
John Brown.
John Brown. Okay.
Yeah.
John Brown. All right.
Made my way back here.
And so that was the easy. So why did you come back? Was it because of...
That's another long story. But we were in Oklahoma. My husband at the time and his parents and his brother kind of got in with a guy, and he had a church out in Tennessee, and we went out there.
I gotcha.
And that turned out, I think he ended up being a truck driver and dating this 18-year-old girl.
Wow.
But it was a long journey.
That's crazy.
Learned a lot about myself, learned a lot about life, learned a lot about faith.
Yeah.
And then we were out there. We didn't really belong out there.
Yeah.
He didn't have a very good job. I was trying to finish college. And so we moved here because this is where my whole family was now.
Right.
And so,
did you see it as the land of opportunity that it's become at that point?
No, not at the time. At the time, it was like a fail-safe, safety net. Mm-hmm. And when the first time I had spent a semester here, I had complained. I was so vocal about how much I hated Arkansas. It smelled like crap, literally. And I remember when I moved back, and it was probably two years later, and then every time I see him to this day, right, my uncle would be like, remember how much you hated it here? And look at what it's, done for your whole life. And at the time, you just don't know. And it's so easy to always look.
Hindsight's always 2020.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it was great. And coming here was wonderful for my family. I mean, we went from, growing up as a kid to, everything went on layaway and you paid it off over time.
Oh, yeah.
And to, my parents are, they bought a second house in Colorado, and
that's awesome.
Really happy, so.
What a blessing.
Arkansas has been great.
That's fantastic.
To my family.
Can I come visit in Colorado?
Yeah, of course. Yes, it's a wonderful home. Yes. Yeah, it's in Pagosa Springs, and we love it.
Well, I would have never anticipated. I knew. Well, to explain where I'm from.
Yep.
But you probably know a little bit of it. But I'm from the vacation. Yeah, I'm from the vacation retreat known as Pine Bluff, as far as any city is concerned. But I'm actually about 20 minutes south in a little rural community called Woodlawn.
Okay.
And
I didn't know that.
Yes. So I didn't grow up in the city. I wasn't about them city folk. And you go to, when you're in areas like that, and I love Arkansas, but this is its own little island. Northwest Arkansas does not represent the rest of Arkansas. Now, the rest of Arkansas is very lovely, and you'll never find a more Arkansas boy than me, because I'm a huge, Arkansan,
Right.
But it's different. And, there was, at the time, and still kind of that way, the opportunity was just so scarce. And I knew that I needed to do something. And we won't get off in all the circumstances that led me here, but I could remember crossing over that ridge as you're coming into Fayetteville. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I remember crossing over, you're right past Greenland.
Yeah, of course.
And I was like, I have landed. This looks great. And the funny thing was, I just remember people here and elsewhere saying, well, that place is growing. It's grown so much.
So what year was this?
This was 2002.
Oh, yeah.
And so, but it was nothing like it is now.
Oh, gosh.
And so I remember people talking about the growth then, and never would I had
get to hear where we're physically sitting right now.
Yeah, forget about it.
This was all capture.
Oh, yeah. No, when we first came to them.
In 2000, this was nothing.
Right.
Maybe the embassy had just the hotel.
What I remember was, it's even sooner than that. I can remember driving up here going to Bentonville, and there was nothing but woods.
Yeah.
And then a little later, when we came here, and when the Einsteins took up residence at Northgate, I want to say, yeah.
Because that was one of the first buildings, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And I think Mrs. Hunt's building was there. That building was there. The KNWA building was there, and then
that one's been there the longest.
Yeah. And then I think they might have about to wrap up the promenade or something. I can't remember if they had done that or not. But either way, I mean, no, there was nothing else. I saw a picture that I took the other day, and I mean, it's nothing. Like you look here, and it's just. Little did I know this would become supplier.
No Topgolf.
Oh yeah.
No other buildings.
The restaurants.
Yeah.
None of the. Yeah, it was crazy. It's crazy, but that's good for good. It was pure.
I tell
blessing.
people all the time that this is an anomaly.
Oh yeah.
Like even just talking to HR when we have open roles here, like it's hard to explain.
No, they don't get it.
The market.
Such a condensed area. There's people that I've met comedians that have flown in, to go to shameless plug for the Grove in Lowell.
Go to the Grove.
Go to the Grove. This brought to you by the Grove. But all these guys, they'll give it a hard time for a second. But then they actually get out and are about, and they're like, wait a minute. Yeah. There's nowhere else that I know in the United States that you can travel 30 minutes in any direction and find, top grade restaurants of any sort, really.
Yeah.
And entertainment. I mean, we've got Topgolf, we've got George's, we've got J&J's Live, we've got the Amp, we've got, you name it. Anything that you could want.
Art scene.
Right, the art scene, Crystal Bridges, the trails.
Yep. I've gone to see John Legend on Saturday night.
Are you now? That's nice. Well, I just bought
Momentary. Plug for the Momentary, brought to you by the Momentary.
This brought to you by the Momentary.
Yeah.
No,
it's
gonna be a good show.
It's insane, and I think part of it is it's still deceiving because of our airport. Like you fly in.
That's the first joke.
And if you hadn't been looking out the window, you're like, wait, where did I get on the wrong plane? Right? For what what we do offer.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Once you have to get out and experience it. Yeah. By the way, quick plug for the Walmart Amp. I just for you guys that don't know.
There's a lot of plugs here. I hope that they're sponsoring you. Are the checks coming in?
But Jane's Addiction's coming.
Oh.
So I'm going to go see that one.
Great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All the original members,
we
too.
We have Cage the Elephant.
That'll be a good one. Alice Cooper, Rob Zombie, going to go see that one, too. That's going to be pretty sweet. Look. I get it, but I'm telling you, just for the show. I've seen Alice Cooper 3 times. Yeah. Awesome. I've never seen Rob Zombie, though. And also seeing Sammy Hagar. That's going to be pretty freaking sweet.
I might watch that one from the balcony. Some things are worth fighting the crowd, going down there. Some of them it's nice to just watch from the...
He's got Joe Satriani playing guitar and Jason Bonham on the drums and Michael Anthony from Van Halen on bass. So the minute that it all came out, I paid through the nose for these tickets. I totally ticket snobbed that one. But anyhow, so all at the Walmart out. Okay, so let's talk about your career path real quick.
Okay.
So give me the nutshell of your time at Dayspring. Give me the whole growth thing.
From basically sitting in a room making mock-ups of cards to then kind of owning some product development that's all ink on paper to then owning gifts, product development. So ideas to reality.
So you're the brainstorm piece of it and all
that's really where my travel started. So Asia, India.
That's awesome.
And that's what really, I feel like, solidified for me that this was the world that I wanted to be in professionally.
That's awesome.
This idea of like global business, global trade, retail, concept to on shelf, that all of that time period, like that 2006, 8, 9, 10, like that really sealed the deal for me.
That's awesome.
I loved product. I loved thinking about a consumer, customer, and I love to travel.
So how'd you take that leap from Dayspring to Walmart?
So there was other stuff going on in my life. I was going through a divorce, and my ex-husband and I had a coffee shop in town, a small community. He still has it with his wife. They're Poor John's. Did I not tell you that?
No, I didn't know that.
I did, but
I did not know.
Yeah,
that.
So they have Poor John's, and it's great. It's a community space. We had kind of done that together. He was really unhappy in what he was doing, and I said, "Look, like, do something else. And we had some folks that they were relocating and they had the shop and they wanted to sell it. And so we did that. And so anyway, I feel like he belonged there. I had opportunity to not like do something different. And so I interviewed with a few different folks. At the time, this was relatively interesting. At the time, this was right when Tyson had acquired Hillshire.
Oh, yeah.
And so they were in this interesting place, and I have no idea how this went. So, like, if you're at Tyson, like, please, this is not informative at all. This is just one person's point of view. They were in this really interesting place of, are we going to be a commodity brand, or are we going to be like a CPG brand,
okay.
right? So are we going to make stuff on the back end, or are we going to, truly be brand, like customer facing? And it was like a brand manager role. And it probably would have been really interesting. But I had a couple of different mentors give me some counsel on like, hey, this is probably a really tough time to come in, because they were asking people to reload from, I think, Chicago and different places. Anyway. And so this other offer was also on the table at Walmart, and had some other, it's always about who is talking in your ear a little bit. So you got to be mindful of who you let talk to you and give you counsel.
Wisdom drop.
Oh, yeah. Make sure,
Yeah.
But I really respected them, and the feedback was, look, like, and I don't know if this is true now. It was very true then. With Walmart, like, if you come in and you don't necessarily love what you're doing, there's 15 other career paths you can take, right? And at the time, I wanted to stay in product, but the reality is that our market here is predicated on sales, category management. I mean, there's a subset of roles here that are, based on supporting one retailer from a brand side. And so this idea of like product development and sourcing, those roles are not based here. Like they're based at all these offices you see, they're based at their HQ. So for me, it was like, hey, I can still do this. And then I can figure out like, maybe there's something else I would like to do. And so, yeah, it was sourcing for toys for D7 at Walmart. And I will tell you that the person who hired me, like, I still see her all the time. Her and my mom are almost best friends. And again, it goes back to like relationships, mentorship, like who you hook your wagon to. Because at the end of the day, it didn't really matter what role I took. What mattered was who I let speak into me, like how to think about the next step. And at that time, it was Sheila. And then, she was pivotal in encouraging me to become a merchant. And a lot of the merchants that I were supporting were very pivotal to say, you should go do this. Like, you can do this. Not everybody can do this. And so I feel like that's one of the biggest things that I took with me from my time at Walmart was, have great mentors. Surround yourself by people that you respect, that know more than you do, and listen to them. And then, the other piece was it just broadened my world. Like, regardless of how many zeros are behind the business you're managing or the business you're supporting, like the dynamics of the landscape that I had come from, privately held, more of a family-owned business, right? The Halls.
Yeah.
And certain size, certain makeup of like the products that they were in, very creatively driven company versus operationally driven. I mean, it was just if this was the yin, that was the yang, the experience that I got at Walmart on all the other side of the world, right? Of the business, which is this idea of operationally sound versus maybe super creatively driven. And I don't know, people could debate that. Like, I'm sure, there are certain people at Walmart that are like, no, we're very creative.
Well, it's certainly
not to Crayola standard. Let's be real. And that's what Hallmark was fostering and facilitating.
So, but certainly the intelligence that you have from that creative piece that had to have transitioned to help you in your operational piece, especially.
100%.
Right.
And I think it was Greg Hall, who was our GMM at the time. You know, he would say all the time that it is art and it is science, this idea of retail. And the best can blend those, right? In a way that you kind of come with this like perspective of it makes sense fundamentally. You can do the math, right? The math works, but then there's like this creative kind of gut driven element of you have to let some of that lead for it to be, you know, differentiated or the surprise and delight. And so I do think that the creative background, the background I had in sourcing, you know, the fact that Hallmark owned some of their own factories that we worked with, like all that experience 100% helped set me up to be both successful and have a unique perspective on my team at the time, right? Of just how we should work, how, you know, when you're in an operationally sound environment, it's, you know, we went from, we just had this great idea and we had one partner and like we would just finesse it until we made it perfect, right? Once I moved into sourcing at Walmart, it was very much about, you had boxes we were to check in your role, right? So like I go get 3 quotes from 3 vendors. You know, I build a matrix of like who, you know, my supplier base, right? There are these boxes. And so the ability to then layer creativity and kind of like critical thinking and you know, maybe pressure test things on top of that, I do think was like super helpful.
Awesome.
Especially when we ventured into projects, like one of the projects at the time, this is very old news now, but at the time, American Girl was doing very, very well. And Walmart, we really wanted to have a perspective on this like 18-inch doll. And that was the inception of My Life As.
That's awesome. So, you were there for that.
I was there for that.
That was huge.
Yes.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so that's obviously a great pinnacle for you. What was it? What were the hard times like? I've seen the reason why I asked you that. I'm going to probe on that one because
we're recording this.
We are recording.
And I still live here.
This isn't controversial.
Okay.
But I know with the people that I know that are in these positions now that it's not always easy.
Right.
We'll put it that way.
Sure.
And I would like to remind you that I have seen your LinkedIn post where you talked about crying trying to set a mullet.
It's true. Yeah.
So, you know, I know that I'm sure that the greatness the pros outweighed the cons.
100%.
But you know, and I've heard that this role really helps you to learn patience and perseverance.
That is so true. And
Okay.
I think it's by design, Matt. Like,
Oh, really?
this idea of, I'm going to give you a portfolio that's the size of many small businesses or larger. I mean, if that ain't a pressure cooker, I don't know what is. Right? Because I can sit here and say, oh, you know, it doesn't matter how many zeros are, you know, behind the number. I mean, it actually does. Because there's pressure around, you know, these brands, these suppliers that you work with, like, you can make or break them. Like, we had real conversations about, you know, being diversified enough that, you know, because it's a bad situation for both sides of the table, right? If I'm doing business with you and I'm 80% of your whole business and I make a strategy change or I pivot, I mean, I could put you out, right? Like, that's just not that's not partnership, I don't think.
Right.
And so there was that. I think the other piece is that the way, so I've been in vertical, so Walmart's very vertical. I've been in, you know, very flat organizations. And I think the way that those verticals are set up, and again, this could have changed. I'm not there now. But at the time, I think the way those verticals are set up is you've got GMM, you've got DMM. At the time, we have merch managers, right? Like, and the idea is like, I mean, I remember my boss at the time saying, like, my whole job is to find something wrong with what you're doing. That's my whole job.
Wow.
Right? And so it's kind of like an attorney going in saying, I'm never going to ask a question that I don't already know the answer to. And that's really how I was trained up. I don't know how it is today, I really don't. But I can tell you the value of creating a strategy, having someone poke 50 holes in that strategy, going back, redrafting it, and only finding 5 holes to then get like it in front of another level, who then of those 5 holes identifies 2 that are impassable, right? That whole process is I mean, that is something really good at Walmart, in my opinion, of the refining over time, because there's only so much shelf space, right? There's all this traffic, and how do you make sure that assortment is the best, the creme de la creme, right? And every item is going to fire on all cylinders. I tell you, I apply it in my business today.
I was just saying, I mean, that this is a great transition. Surely this has been nothing but it just elevates you moving forward, especially in the transition to Funko.
Yeah. I mean, I think, there were two things that at the time Funko leadership saw valuable in me. One, the perspective I had of being in the organization, understanding I mean, there's its own language of how you talk, right? At the time,
I still have problems with the acronyms.
With them. Yeah, there's a lot of acronyms. Understanding kind of the do's and don'ts, how to navigate the organization. Yeah, and so that was one. I think the other piece was kind of this hodgepodge background that I've built over time. They were really looking for someone. They had a salesperson, and they had someone that was kind of doing what I would call customer service today. I don't think that was, but I think they were looking for someone that would come in and own the business, like truly be like this little mini CEO here in Northwest Arkansas of like, come tell us what needs to be true, what do we need to do, like what should we be asking of, who should we be talking to, like have a perspective on that. And the feedback I got was like that they had interviewed a lot of sales candidates, and that wasn't their kind of perspective or background, right? Of like, I'm going to treat this like this is my own business. Like if I just stood it up tomorrow and I was trying to work with Walmart and have a little office and have a couple of people working with me. It's a lot of
ownership.
It's a ton of ownership. And I don't think I had any clue what I was really taking on. I mean, I've built 2 offices for Funko, right? You know this.
Yes.
Like, I will just say that was never discussed when I interviewed and flew out there and slid down the slides with HQ, right? We didn't talk about that. And that was so far outside of any experience I'd ever had or scope of previous roles. And it's that times my 2 hands, 10 fingers of things that when you say, okay, I will sign up to basically have this autonomy, which is great, but also all the responsibility of, I'm going to treat this like it is like my own business. And then I'm coming back to this like mothership and saying, hey, I need this, here's what we're doing, I loved it and I hated it. Yeah. And then, fast forward of that, and that grew, and we went from, 2 departments to 8 departments, and we hired more, and we built bigger offices. And as grateful as I am for the time that I spent at Hallmark, as grateful as I am for the time that I spent at Walmart, I am 10 times great. And that is not saying lesser of those 2 experiences. I am 10 times greater from the experiences that I've had at Funko.
That's awesome.
Because, I mean, at this point, they, like, right, wrong, or indifferent, they define who I am professionally. Because of all that autonomy.
So you get a lot of skin in the Funko game?
In many ways. I would really like our share to go to $20. I might buy a house in Colorado. But yes. Yeah, and I think that's the whole point, Matt, is like, I don't know that I ever would have found that. I have a lot of friends that are still in roles that I worked alongside, 15, 20 years ago. I don't know that, well, as you move up, I don't think you move up as fast in such a vertical organization like Walmart. Like, there's no way I would I don't foresee that in 5 years I would have become a VP VMM. I just don't. Those are catching a rocket that doesn't blast off very often, right? It's more of an investment. And I had already invested 10 years. Maybe if I had started at Walmart, right?
It would be a little different.
It would have been, I think. And that's not a negative. Like, like there's a reason for that. But I will say, titles aside, I don't think I ever would have been given the opportunities to kind of own a business, own a point of view, hire a team, building, like at those other two.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Design Steins. Since 2010, Design Steins has assisted brands and suppliers with branding, packaging, displays, engineering, photography, video, and trade shows for retail. Design Steins provides your brands with the retail power to make the sell. Go to designsteins.com, that's DESIGNSTEINS.com, to learn how they can help your brands go next level. Designsteins.com. Your brands, your goals, your success. This podcast is brought to you by George's Majestic Lounge in Fayetteville. George's Majestic Lounge is the longest-running club and live music venue in the state of Arkansas. George's Majestic regularly features national acts and is listed as one of the top 100 greatest American music venues in the United States. If you're looking for a great time in live music, head over to georgesmajesticlounge.com and get your tickets today. George's Majestic Lounge, where live music lives. This podcast is brought to you by the Grove Comedy Club in Northwest Arkansas. The Grove Comedy Club is Northwest Arkansas's premium spot for national comedic acts all year long. Go to grovecomedy.com, get your tickets, then come grab a beer, grab some food, and get ready to laugh. And remember, comedy is at the Grove.
You're still young in your career.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, yes. And I think, I don't think I'm done yet either. And I think that's the magic of it, right? Like,
But most people don't have this type of experience and in such a time frame too. I mean, you right into the fire.
That's right. That's right.
So, what are some of the? Give me some of the great times that you've experienced at Funko. When I say, what was that time where it was just magical? What comes to your mind?
Yeah, I would say, after about a year to 18 months, what started happening was we had built up enough momentum that I knew folks because I had worked with them, but people started calling and texting me. Hey, I'm interested, like what could we do in my space with the brand?
That's awesome. It has to feel good.
It does, because you have a sense of like ownership and gratefulness for that.
Yeah.
And then, this idea of being able to kind of take back to your leadership and those that you respect and want to help be successful and like show that you are being successful, the ability to be like, hey, they'd really like us to figure something out. And at the time, I think that, I was able to get a lot of visibility to this business here in a way that many of my peers weren't. And I'll just say that was fun.
That's awesome.
Right? To have our founder kind of have all eyes on this business and flying out here.
Yeah, absolutely. Great
not
guy,
like my boss, right?
Yeah,
like at all levels.
The guy. The guy.
And
with an amazing amazing set of golf clubs.
out there golfing. And he's like, my locker's right next to Phil Mickelson. And he is a great guy, and we're still in contact. He's stepped down since then and kind of done. But I would say that, and then just it is literally one day, but like it will forever be kind of in my memory from like the professional files. we had set up a weekend of having like some of our creative leads, cross-functional come out, not just like how you would think like the normal sales meeting, right? And it was more of, instead of us like coming in and like pitching, hey, we've got this project or program, here we're wanting to do this to the merchants. We had set it up as, we're going to bring out our creative leads, we're going to bring out the cross-functional team, and I would like you to come in as the merchant and basically tell them why Walmart, why your business, what do you need? And it was like this speed dating thing. So I think throughout the course of the day, we had probably 10 merchants come through. And I remember, so the reason why this day, not because of 10 merchants, that sounds like braggadocious, but, and we didn't have business with all of them at the time. That wasn't even the point, right? The thing for me that made that day is I remember we like wrapped up, we did kind of the debrief, all the things you do. And then I had taken them down to Skylight for like a movie premiere. And we went down there, and I remember we were heading down there, and like our head of creative, a couple of other folks that had never been to Arkansas, we went and had drinks at the Momentary first, and then we went. And I remember they said to me, specifically, you have completely changed my perspective on Arkansas, on Walmart as a retailer, and on why we should be partnering.
Wow.
And I'll never forget that.
That's awesome.
Because
what an impact.
Yeah, because it's not like this. Like fundamentally, there is a business aspect to it. Yes, like revenue's revenue, right? Especially for a publicly traded company,
right?
Right. But when you operate with shared resources, right, competing priorities, you got all these different people, different departments, right? They don't take orders from sales, a lot of it is just like weighing them to your cause, right? And then you get a much louder voice and you get a much larger share, right? And that's all I was wanting to do.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
That's amazing. Well, let's switch over.
Okay.
We need some advice. It's wisdom nugget time.
Okay.
So, you mentioned earlier mentors.
Yep.
For people looking to enhance their career, for young people that are getting a start, anyone in general, what's your advice on mentorship?
Join a mentoring circle.
Okay.
First, because that's a wide net, right? Like, and maybe the prior step to that is kind of getting plugged in. If you don't have a mentoring circle opportunity in the organization that you're in, a lot of them around here do. Whether it's fed by corporate or, Tyson, JB Hunt, Walmart, join an organization that does. So like I am a mentor lead for Next Up, formerly Network of Executive Women. And just, I would say so like 2 weeks ago, I had a friend reach out and say, hey, I've got someone, she's young, she's talented, she's looking to kind of broaden her network, maybe think about her next career move. She went somewhere right out of college. Would you just talk to her? So she came in, we talked for an hour, kind of went through her resume, and I said, look, if there's anything I can tell you, it's just, if I will pay for your registration fee for an annual, for a year, like go join Next Up and either come to my mentoring circle and meet 13 other like-minded folks across lots of, industries, brands, whatever, or get in on someone else's. Like, it doesn't have to be mine. But I think that's the first step, right? Like, the idea of, that's a wide net of, like, I can just plug myself into an opportunity to join the conversation and to get some perspective and external voices in a little bit of a controlled environment, right? Like, most of the time, when you talk about it being noisy or there's lots of folks yakking, right? Like, most of the time, it's vetted. It's, they're trying to bring some different perspectives. And so that's why I like that, not just because I'm a mentor lead. I think the other piece is like, you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone, right? Like it may be starting to ask around, if that's not obvious to you, right? Like join this organization and grab a mentoring circle, or call HR and say, do we have a mentoring circle? If it's not that easy, which I think it is. It's almost that easy, right?
Well, you're a social butterfly.
Well, and that's fair. That's why I say it. For some people, they're going to have to get out of their comfort zone a little bit, because the direction I give is typically growth doesn't come from what's easy, right?
Absolutely.
And there's lots of ways to interpret that. In this one specifically, it's like for you to have the opportunity to find a mentor, to engage with a mentor, you're probably going to have to take the first step.
Well, absolutely. And I will agree with that wholeheartedly. Jumping in, I tell, I'm to the age where some people have asked mentorship from me, which is a little scary.
Yeah.
But
it's pressure.
Yes. But, I tell people, number one, ye have not because ye ask not. All you have to do is just ask. And most of the time, especially in this community, you'll find people that may say, well, I can't see you right now.
Yeah.
But let's look at it a couple of weeks from now. And I will brag on this community, too. It does have a lot of wonderful people that have been there and done that, and that are ready to at least listen to you. Yeah. And that's huge.
Yeah.
And it's such an opportunity, so get out there. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will agree to another thing that you said a second ago. I have a saying, it's the stuff that you choke on that you never forget.
Yeah.
And that's how you learn.
Yep.
And so, absolutely, get out there and do it. What else?
I think like oftentimes people will just have like they immediately have an idea of what a mentor or, mentor-mentee relationship looks like. And that, that may be strictly around career pathing, or, hey, I want to go into this industry, so I want to find someone in this industry, right? And I think mentorship comes in lots of forms.
Absolutely.
I mean, my
agree.
Parents have mentored me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
my grandparents mentored me.
Absolutely.
You've mentored me as peers and friends of comparing notes, right? And so, like, don't discredit.
So you mentored me.
Oh, thanks, Matt. You have to say that.
You have.
I think, like, don't discredit maybe current relationships that you have that are mentoring, and sometimes it's good to just, like, intentionally put a professional hat on, even in those, relationships. And I think that the other piece is, like, don't only think of my mentor has to be older and wiser or whatever. Like, peer-to-peer mentorship is awesome, right? Because you can kind of share a common place, a common space of like where you're at, and that looks different than when you have a mentor who's been there, done that, right? Like, you're just in a different headspace.
And sometimes it's just good to talk.
It is.
If people in this, especially in the retail, and look, I'm not going to sit here and whine and cry and say, we're the toughest industry out there. But I will say it is a tough industry, and it's not an industry that most people understand. They really don't.
No.
And so, I second that. Just talking to people about it, getting it out there, because it's hard to comprehend on a lot of levels in most cases. When I talk to family about it, what do you do? I make things look pretty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's it. I make things look pretty, but there's like 3 million layers to that onion.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Yeah. Yeah. And then, like, I guess the last thing would be, be prepared to be a mentor yourself. Like, it's a two-way conversation. Like, a good mentor-mentee, it's not just like one person. They're not your therapist and you're sitting on their couch, right? So it's not that. You're not just like blah. And so you come with your questions, you come, right? But I think, like, the other piece is having a perspective or an opinion yourself of like, hey, I've been thinking about this, right? And I think, like, it is a two-way conversation. And if you do it well, you will find yourself wanting to mentor others as well. Because there's so much that you get out of that as you do of like being the mentee, if that makes sense. And maybe that's easier for me to say at this space in my career and this age and all of that. But
age, you're only 28.
That's true. It's on the record. Yeah. So actually, no. I did not make me 28 look good. So let's just like rethink that a little bit.
Okay, let's talk.
Okay.
Let's talk personally. So, I like to dive into area. We're all human beings, and a lot of these podcasts, and nothing wrong with them. This is my podcast, and
do it hard your way.
And I like to talk about getting into personal aspects too. So, what about friends? What advice does Jenn Hann have regarding friends and friendship?
Oh my gosh. Well, I would say that my circle has gotten smaller the older that I've gotten.
Yeah, I literally said that like yesterday.
True, right?
It is.
I'm not some anomaly. And I don't know, I don't know if that's when you're younger, like you're still feeling out like what it means to be a friend and have friends, right? And like you've got your good time friends and you've got your I don't want to do anything friends, and you've got your, and I think you just have a wider circle, like, and then, life and kids and, you go through different stages. But for me, I just want to be a good friend.
Yeah.
I don't even know, like, if I would sit here and say, this is specifically my best friend, or, I try to, somewhat stay connected, but it's more predicated on I want to be a good friend, and I'm not gonna lie, it takes work. And like my husband will look at me and be like, I don't know how I'll say something about, I connected with Bill, and he's like, I don't know how you maintain this, like, because if my circle's small, his is smaller,
Mark's party of two.
Yes. Hi, Mr. Paul. It's different. And some of it I think is like some gender specific stuff, right? Of like how females interact, and some of it is just how I'm wired. But I think like I want to be a good friend, and I know at the end of the day who I would pick up the phone and call if I needed something, right? And I want to make sure that those people, that's reciprocal, right, first. And then generally, I just want to, this sounds silly and whatever, I just want to be a good person.
Right.
Like, we share all this space, and like, what recently happened here over the weekend, like, I mean, we're all in this together. It's life, and we're doing it together. And, whether it's, some of it is like easier than other. Like right now, it's like, I just need to get on my phone, order a DoorDash gift card, and text it. Like, I just need to do that. That's like, so it would take me like 2 minutes to do it. And then, on the flip side, it's like, there's probably somebody that, like, we need to go get all of our chainsaw crap, and we need to go to their house and
take it down
Saturday. So like, those are, we just had tornadoes come through. That's why I'm saying that. But like, that's the spectrum of like, I just want to be there for people. And I will say it has gotten, while my circle has gotten tighter, that reach has gotten a lot wider in my life. And it does make it harder. I mean, I have people I really care about in California, Seattle, Everett, not even in this North America. So it spreads out too.
I think you have several good points there. I think I've always said that tragedy brings out the best and the worst in people. Yeah. And I will say I was very proud to see Northwest Arkansas step up the way it has in such a crazy time. And, thank God, it could have been worse on so many levels. But everybody's pitching in and making something happen. Regarding the friends piece of it, I literally had this discussion yesterday. your circle is a priority thing, right? Mm-hmm. But it sounds bad, but it's not. And here's why I say that. My circle has definitely gotten a lot. When I was a young guy, there was some of this old man wisdom, and he said, Matt, when you get old, you're going to be lucky if you can name 5 friends on one hand. And I was like, you're fun.
You're crazy. I need 50 people right now.
Everybody knows me.
Yeah.
And it's true. But you truly, as you get older, you see your priorities change because of the important things you have. But all the people that have been there through the thick and thin, everybody that always responded, everybody that was always touching base, everybody that reached out, and you are 100% correct in regards to it does take a lot of work. I'm one of these guys that, I have a hit list. I have a drive. I have a commute because I don't live live in Washington County.
Yeah.
And so I utilize that time to try to make phone calls.
Yeah.
And it's even that. I know it sounds crazy. There's probably some really young people that might listen to this and be like, "How do they not have time to make a phone call?" Well, you just don't know.
Yeah.
And so,
or why a phone call?
Right.
Don't call.
So old school.
Yeah.
Another one too is, I'll say this. One thing that I tell a lot of people that are younger than me, and I wish I would have learned it sooner. Closing that circle in. Also, when you're doing that, you need to get rid of a lot of the drama.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of
true.
There's a lot of people that I can tell that I've had some really great times. You talked about different, there was the lazy on the couch friends, and there was the Dixon Street friends, and there's this, that, and the other. And I'm dating myself a little bit, but whatever the case, it's true. You bring that circle in, the less drama you can experience, the more harmonious life is. And it's so simple, and it's truly, it's like, how is anyone not grasping it? But for whatever reason, when you're younger, you just don't, or at least I didn't. And that's when you really start getting what I call, and this sounds horrible, but you start getting the quality friends. That's what happens.
No, I mean,
and those are the ones you gotta hang on to.
I mean, I don't think it's horrible to say you go from quantity to quality, because it's just stages, like and the prioritization, what you value, your values change as you get older. Like what you have time for changes. I mean, I would argue that whether it's because I go to sleep earlier, or my work is different, or my kid, like whatever that is, like I don't have. I mean, I used to go for a 5-mile run at 9 o'clock. That ain't gonna happen now. I'm just saying, right? So like the compression of whatever it is, I do think kind of brings that circle tighter, and the quality of it by force. When you do that, you are gonna. You're going to pick the best of what I say, creme de la creme. Like, you are going to pick the best.
Yeah.
And they may not be, I mean, that's the thing. Like, one of my very best friends lives in Vegas. So, like, it's a whole lot of texting, and we schedule little FaceTime calls.
That time zone difference can that's another one. I have one of my best friends lives in Las Cruces, New Mexico.
Yeah.
And because both of our schedules are hairy, we have to really chisel out some time. You'd be surprised with that little difference with me as far as like routines and everything. It's crazy, but
I'm not surprised at all.
You do it. The last question for you, Jenn Hann.
Yes, hit me with it.
What brings Jenn Hann joy?
My family. We just got back from Disneyland, and
awesome.
Just time with them.
Yeah.
Seeing my kids not fight. Argue.
It's the simple.
Hold hands and be happy.
It's the simple joys.
It is. Yes. I really do love people, and so whether it's this mentoring circle that I feel like I don't have time for, but make time for, the local team, the interaction with the larger team, people at work, people at home. I love to travel. I love to see the world. Like my
You
bucket
do?
list will never. I don't. Like I don't even know why you create a list because then there's just frustration of like I can't check it off fast enough or I'll never get through it.
What's the favorite place you've been, real quick?
Favorite ever?
Yeah. Best time.
Probably we drove from Venice, Italy to Austria.
Oh, that's awesome.
That
That's awesome.
moment. That's probably highlight.
Family experiences, friends.
Yeah. I mean, and I do get joy out of my work. I mean, I think about what it would be like to not find any joy in your work. And I think it would just be so miserable because you spend so much time doing it.
Yes.
And it is a bit of a means to an end. Like, I'm not going to take my family to Disneyland unless unfortunately, I was not born into money. There isn't like an account that just kicks out cash every month, right? Like, and so, it is. But, like, if you can find joy in the doing it, like, I don't know how you would do it if you didn't. And so I do. I enjoy, I love product. I like debating ideas. I like having my mind changed, actually. Like, I don't know that I find joy in it. But I can appreciate it, right? So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Definitely my family. And friendships and connections. Because I think all the other stuff, like, yes, I love going to watch a great movie and just being entertained, like shut my brain off. Good book. Like I'm currently, I did the whole ACOTAR. Now I'm in Throne of Glass. Like
nice.
It's an escape. I like going for walks. But yeah, definitely my family.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Jenn, thank you for coming. It's been a pleasure having you.
Oh, you go give me the high five.
I need a high five.
That's all. We do that. That's my first high
Because then you
five.
get the sound.
You are officially the first high five.
As it should be. First of something.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Jenn.
Matt. Yeah, thanks for having me. And I think it's great that you're doing this. So
Thank you. You'll come again?
I'll come again.
Wonderful.
So cool. All right.
All
I
right.
gotta
Until
run.
next time.
Okay.